factors that affect organizational performance. We have leadership. So the quality of leadership will inspire performance, monitor, supervise, coach performance or not. Teamwork and group relations, so we'll talk a bit more about teams. That's supposed to be LO2, but like we said, LO3 is about performance management, but it's a big topic, so we'll start it now, and then next week we'll continue. And then the systems and structures around the organization puts in place in terms of the performance management system, appraisal system, reward system. Does you give bonuses, for instance, to high performers and things like that? So those are some factors. Then, in terms of the job roles and individuals, you have ability. So the ability and aptitude and personality of each employee, of each individual, will determine performance. Their motivation to work. So ability is like skill. You can have the skill, but you may not be have the motivation to use that skill. So motivation to work is important, and then the opportunity to work and the role in which they've been put. So if you put a square peg in a round hole, they may not work. So they may have the skill to work, they may have the motivation to work, but you put them in the wrong position in the organization, and so on. Also, the environment matters, like we said. The economic environment, even if every individual performs well and every team performs well, if your organization is in an economy that is facing a recession, customers are not buying goods and services, you may not perform well. So the economic environment, physical environment, and the technological environment. So physical environment, do employees have the office space, things like that, good infrastructure to work, and the technology, for instance, the computers and machines to work. So these are all factors that affect performance, and that leads to individual and environmental factors affecting performance. So it's a good model to start understanding what we mean by performance and performance management. So the next key thing around performance we want to highlight, again, just laying a foundation today. Next week we'll look a bit more at this, is what we call the performance management cycle, right, by Armstrong. So it's made up of some, you can look at it as planning or setting goals, right? So at that stage you are getting a performance agreement. If the manager, the line manager, will meet the employee maybe every 6 months or every 1 year or whatever, and set goals for the next 6 months or 1 year, right? So they plan together. These are your tasks. These are your goals. These are your objectives. You can have a performance agreement that these are our goals we stated. And then the employee has to go and act. That is, they have to start carrying out these activities to achieve the goals. So the line manager has to go and act. The line manager has to provide the training or approve training, coaching, support, technological, computers, whatever the employee needs to perform well. So we have the employee acting. We also have the idea of performance development plans, personal development plans, things like that, which outline the training and development the employee will need, but make, for instance, the next 1 year or 6 months to achieve these performance goals that have been set. Then we actually have the results of the performance coming out, and the line manager has to be monitoring that, and then we'll review the whole thing at the end and start again for a new year or performance management start again. So that's a quick overview of performance management. Most organizations use especially the big ones, we use something similar to this with a few differences, but basically it will be something around planning, acting, developing the employee, reviewing performance. So I think in previous units we've looked at PERSOL and SWOT analysis and things like that, your ability to understand the external economic environment and how they will affect the organization's performance. So PERSOL stands for political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental factors. You look at those factors. SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So you look at the internal environment. So the idea that in some organizations, the performance management necessitates writing out performance standards. So we need to know to what standard we expect to perform. So kind of like quality standards and performance measures and performance targets. So for instance, especially in sales, for instance, sales jobs, you get performance targets supposed to sell £1 million worth of cars or increase sales by 20%, that kind of thing. We also have the idea that performance is also supported by competencies, right? So the whole idea of training and skills that support performance, and sometimes you have a competency framework that says, oh, we need to get people operating at this competency level, therefore we need to provide this type of training, right? And based on your competency level, your performance target, and your what you actually deliver, some organizations after formal review have a rating or a ranking where they will say, oh, you are rated at excellent performance or outstanding performance or average performance or poor performance or underperformance or needing improvement. And some organizations will tie this to a financial reward such as a bonus. Those who get very good performance ratings will get, for instance, a bonus, £1,000 or £2,000. So it's kind of like to motivate employees. Obviously, it has its own problems, so we won't go into that now, but you can read up on it and see some of the criticisms around this model. But it's a fairly common model in many organizations. Okay, so some key things to remember around performance management. When you're leading your own one day you're going to be a manager or a leader, and you have to lead organizations and manage employees under you, is to set realistic expectations, set realistic goals. So set goals that are not too unrealistic, that are unachievable, because they would rather demotivate the person. So it's not possible for me to sell cars of £1 million in 1 month. Yeah, so there's no point trying, right? But at the same time, they shouldn't be too low goals. They should be stretching enough. They should be enough to stretch the person and push the person, out of their comfort zone a little bit to achieve, but not unrealistic, not too high. Then you need to try to get buy-in from your employees and teams. So involve them in the discussion and in goal planning rather than just push the goals and targets down them, and get their commitment and buy-in. And then frequent change is often a problem. So when organizations change strategy or change products quite a lot, then whatever performance target you set in January, by March is redundant because everything has changed. So that can, have a bigger effect on performance management. So performance management is really good in some area of stability is needed to have good performance management. We already talked about the plan, do, check, act cycle, performance management cycle. So those are some things to keep in mind. All right, so that's obviously the idea of performance management. Strategic performance management now looks at implementing this at an organizational level, individual level, and team level. And for the organizations, you need to look at how the whole organization structures and how things integrate and coordinate with each other. So the McKinsey 7S framework is very good for assessing your organizational effectiveness and identifying areas where you may need to improve performance. If there's a performance issue, it may stem from one of these areas. So the idea is that the 7 components of your organization are all starting with S. So your structure, your organizational structure, whether it's a tall or flat structure, bureaucratic structure, so on, functional structure, your systems, so your performance management system, your IT systems, or your reward system. Style has to do more with the culture of the organization, organizational style and culture. Staff, the quality of and numbers of employees you have, the skills they have, the organization strategy, whether they're focusing on cost or quality or innovation or whatever, their shared values and ethical beliefs and core values. So these are the 7 S's. And Where they are integrated, you are likely to have a more effective organization, a high-performing organization. Where some of them are out of joint, they don't coordinate with each other, they're not integrated. If the culture is moving in one direction, whereas the strategy is moving in an opposite direction, you have issues with performance and effectiveness. So it's a model to use to understand organizational effectiveness and performance. So if you look at your learning outcomes, it talks about um, providing the criteria for assessing organizational strategic effectiveness from a leadership perspective. And obviously, your Mackenzie 7S is one of those models, very popular model to use to do that, assess organizational effectiveness. Quick note around critical success factors, CSFs. So these are your KPIs and CSFs, your key performance indicators and critical success factors. So how do you define good performance for your organization? And again, every organization will be different. You have to determine for your specific organization what your critical success factors are. Is it improving revenue? Is it improving cost? Is it improving innovation? Is it expanding internationally? What are those, critical success factors? And they should flow from your company vision and mission statement down to, from then you can identify what your critical success factors are, and you need to communicate that to individuals in their performance management reviews. Very quickly, just skipping to the other slides on performance management. Another key aspect of looking at organizational effectiveness. So if you are a strategic leader, how do you ensure your organization is performing well and effective? How do you set good critical success factors? One of the important models we talk about is the balance scorecard by Kaplan and Norton. So in the past, we had a situation where organizations, when they are looking at performance and measuring performance, only focus on financial performance, profit, revenue, cash flow, return on investment, earnings per share. Those are financial metrics that they focus on. But the more modern view is to take a balanced view. Look at 4 areas, financial just being one of them, but you also need to look at customers. So you can have a lot of profit and revenue, but your customers are not happy. And over time, long term, you will lose business because you will lose customers. So what's the level of customer satisfaction and customer loyalty and customer engagement? Those are also part of your critical success factors you may want to look at. Your internal processes. So what are your internal quality control measures, internal efficiency, labor turnover, productivity levels and things like that, product utilization and so on, equipment utilization. So those internal processes, how efficient and effective are your internal processes, and to what quality standards are these processes carried out, and form part of your performance measures to know if you're an effective organization. And then your employee learning and growth, their ability to learn, develop as employees, training and development of employees, again will give you some idea of performance measures that may be important to your organization. So based on your vision and mission, you can look at not just financial measures, but set performance measures for your organization in terms of customer satisfaction and loyalty, internal efficiency and productivity, employee skills, learning and growth development. So I think that's a quick introduction to performance management. Some of these things we'll cover again in more detail next week when we look at performance management again. So now what we would like to look at are team and teamwork. Right. So like we said, organizations perform when individuals perform well, when teams perform well, when groups and departments perform well, and then when the overall organization performs well. So all these are important levels of performance. So let's look a bit more closely at teams. And as a leader, as a strategic leader, what do you need to know about teams and groups? How do you go about developing these and ensuring good performance and organizational effectiveness? So um, groups are people, with some sort of shared identity, common identity. So everybody in your class, you know, or your it can be a group, but you're not a team. A team is when you have a specific task, not just a shared identity, but a task. So everybody in a class of students, for instance, is a group, right? Everybody in your department, you're all one group. You have a shared identity, you work for that department in an organization. But when you are pulled into usually smaller subsets with a specific task, that's now what we now identify as a team. So teams are more task-oriented, goal-oriented, while groups are more shared common identity. So some important um, models around teamwork, we won't look at all of them, but it's good to have them at the back of our mind. Tuckman stages of team development, the GROW model, the 5 dysfunctions of the team, team will, and building team role. Some of these are good theories you may want to look at, but we'll look in particular at Tuckman's model, Belvin's team role, and the GROW model. Those are very, very important. So as a strategic leader, and these are models that will help you in terms of developing team effectiveness, which can lead to organizational effectiveness. So let's start with Tuckman's um, model of team development. So what Tuckman research shows is that teams go through 5 stages: forming, when they are initially formed; storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. Stop before you used to stop at performing on the added the fifth one, which is adjourning or ending. So what this model helps you do as a strategic leader is to identify the appropriate stage at which this team is, and how what they need at that stage, and how you can develop them. Or if you have to develop a team from scratch, how do you take them through this evolution of team process? So at the forming stage, what you're helping the team do at this stage is to get to know each other, get to know other team members, get to know their strengths, their weaknesses, their preferred style of working, and the ground rules you are going to operate as a team. For instance, okay, team meetings will be every Monday by 10 o'clock. You're not supposed to be late. There are 7 members of the team. These are their names. These are each person's roles and responsibilities. Um, as a team, we will always communicate openly, transparently. We share email information, have a shared folder, all those kind of things. That's what you need to do at the forming stage, right? So a good leader will ensure that before you start getting on with the task, you take time to ensure members get to know themselves, introduce themselves, sometimes even get to know themselves personally, and build friendships, because that always improves teamwork. The next stage teams usually go through is the storming stage. This is where people are not quite sure of the actual limits and boundaries of their roles and responsibilities, right? So you've told them on paper, this is your role, but they don't know how far they can do it, how much power they can exercise. So they tend to look for the boundaries of their role, push, explore, see how much they can get away with, see if they can push some work to somebody else, see if they can, exercise more power and influence over other people in the team, see if they can make a few changes to things they're not happy with. So it's kind of like a storm, a little bit of team conflict. Like we say, conflict can be good sometimes if it's well managed and it's in the appropriate degree. So this is where members start to test their boundaries, right? And a good team leader will shepherd people, navigate people through that process, so that it now becomes very clear who does what and where they hand over to somebody else. So in the process, you do up to this point, and this is where exactly you're supposed to hand over to the next person, and so on. And if you hand over to the person, you're not supposed to monitor, or you are supposed to monitor what the person does. You sort all that out in the storming stage. The third stage is the norming stage. So this is where people start have now understood exactly their roles, their responsibility, and they start doing that habitually, you know, and getting into a norm, a routine, a habit of doing these things, um, and accepting what others do and gelling well together as a team. Right. So this is the process of fine tuning. This is the process of making these things a habit. And then performing is now at this stage your team, they don't need to think, they already know what their task is, their goals, their roles, their responsibilities, and you get some very good teamwork. So in fact, if you look at it like a sports team, like a football team, at this stage, if somebody is playing maybe on the left side, he doesn't even need to look before crossing the football to the right, because he knows the person there has already made the run for the ball, because they've reached that stage of high performance where they know what the other person is thinking, what the other person is doing, what the other person wants them to do without having to communicate. So that's the performing or high performance stage, because they've gone through the norming stage, they've understood their roles, and now it has become automatic and, you know, very high quality, almost perfect. And then the adjourning stage is where people leave the team and you get new team members in, so you have to restart again, forming, getting some of these people adjusted into the team and so on. Sometimes the task is accomplished, you celebrate the task as a team leader, as a strategic leader. What you should be doing is helping the team celebrate the task and then end well, right? So sometimes teams don't want to break up, they are so happy with each other, but your job as a leader may be to help them break up and celebrate what they did well, but move on, right? So that's the Stockman's stages of team development. And then the other model that's quite important here is Belbin's team roles. So what Belbin argued is that when people are in a team, or when you have a team, you will have certain rules. I think there are 9 or 10 rules. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 rules that every good team should have. Right. So it doesn't mean you need 9 people, each person playing one role. Somebody can play 2 or 3 roles, right? But you need to know what roles you are playing and to play them well for your team to be highly effective, right? So you can have only 4 people in the team and some people will play more than one role. But basically, you need somebody playing the role of what he calls the plant. And this is the person who brings new ideas, the creative, imaginative, innovative ideas. Somebody needs to be suggesting these things, right? Not everybody has that as their strength, um, but you need at least one person who can play that role, right? Usually, this person may not be good at implementing the idea, um, or giving enough detail. And if the person is a poor communicator, then you need others to bring this idea to life. But you need someone who can throw in those ideas. Another role you need is someone who can play what they call the resource investigator role. So this is the person who can say, okay, based on the goals, tasks, ideas we have as a team, what resources do we need to achieve these goals, tasks, ideas? Where can we get these resources? So the person should be able to get the money, equipment, office space, meeting rooms, projectors, computers, whatever it is you need to function as a team and to fulfill your task, right? So this is the resource investigator, person who investigates the resources and gets them for the team. The third role Belbin emphasizes that a good team should have for good effectiveness is the coordinator. So someone who can coordinate the team and everybody else and all the roles, the different roles. So this has a strong leadership aspect. We really expect leaders to play the role of a coordinator, coordinate the other roles to achieve the goals. Another role Belvin emphasizes as important in a team, effective team, is the role of the shaper. So this is the person who takes the rough ideas, the innovative ideas of the plan and turns them into reality, into action. Right? So someone who can fine-tune an idea from a very rough but brilliant idea to something that will work in practice. Um, so you need to shape people's ideas into reality. Monitor evaluator is another important role. So this is the person who looks at different options and says, look, these are strategic options, option A, option B, option C. They are very good at scanning the environment, very good at analyzing trends, very good at knowing what the competitors are doing, so on, and say, okay, based on all this analysis, all this monitoring and evaluation, I think these are options. And they leave it either to the group or the coordinator leader to decide which option is best. But they provide the information, they provide the data you need, and the options that are available to you as a team. Team worker is a very important role, and this is the person who looks for the team dynamics. So while everybody else is looking at the ideas and coordinating the task achievement and resource investigation, all of that, somebody needs to ensure that people are still friends on the team, that people don't have interpersonal conflict, that people's birthdays are not forgotten, that people, or when someone is someone is sick, they remember to send, to visit the person and give them a get well card, a gift or whatever. So someone who does those interpersonal side of things to keep the team harmonious and integrated with each other. Okay, team worker. So this is often the person who plays the role and say, oh, yes, we have very serious activities, but let's take 5 minutes to celebrate if somebody's birthday today in our team. And they bring a cake and everybody celebrates. And often everybody becomes happier, more friendlier, and that makes the team more effective when they work together. So it's a very important role. Then we have the implementer. So after the plant has brought the innovative idea, the shaper has turned that into something that can work in reality. You've looked at the data from the different options from the resource evaluator. Then you have somebody who has to play the role of implementer. This is someone who can actually start implementing or delivering this, sometimes doing the boring things, the menial things, the actual nitty-gritty things of implementing this idea, getting things down. So this may involve booking rooms, this may involve crunching numbers on a spreadsheet, whatever is involved. This is the person who actually, ensure the work gets done or does it himself or herself. Then you have another important role, the completer finisher. So this is the person who ensures that deadlines are met, we don't sleep, keeps reminding people about quality targets, deadlines, standard to which you must complete or finish the project. You can't, do a short job and things like that, right? And who ensures you cross the line in time. And then specialists. Sometimes you have some very specialist roles in the team. So, for instance, nowadays you may have somebody who needs to be an IT expert, IT guru in your team, because most things you have to do with technology, or any other kind of specialist, depending on the nature of the job you are doing. Sometimes you're a specialist in a very niche knowledge area, or someone who can bring that specialist knowledge or skills to you. So these are the 9 key roles Belvin advocates for an effective team. And what he's supposed to be doing as a strategic leader is to help each team identify who does what. Some people may play more than one role, developing people's skills in playing each of the roles that they ought to play well, and understanding what the roles are, and so that they can understand the contribution everybody else makes and tap into that and cooperate with the person. Those are the key roles. There'll be one more model we'll look at in terms of teamwork and developing effectiveness is the GROW model. So this is really a model to coach people as a strategic leader. A lot of what you'll be doing is coaching teams, coaching people within the teams. What you want to do is to develop team effectiveness by helping the team set goals. So you spend time with the team to help them clarify their goals, set their goals, and ensure that the goals are appropriate, smart, and so on and so forth. Reality, help teams understand their reality. What are their limitations? What are their constraints? What are the resources available to them? What assumptions are they working on and that they may not have really fully understood? What timelines do they need to meet? You know, what skills do they really have to do a proper self-assessment and be honest with themselves? You know, so you help them through the process of understanding their reality. Then, as a strategic leader, you also help the team identify the opportunities, right? So, what opportunities do they have? What options can they develop to meet their, to pursue their goals, target, and help them discuss with customers or clients or end users of their product or service to understand exactly what the customer needs and demands and what opportunities they have to meet those things. Um, Sometimes it's about helping them to think innovatively, think out of the box, how they can do things differently, what are the opportunities to do that. And then, so grow stands for each of these things. G is grow, goals, R is reality, O is opportunity, and then W we call wrap up, what next, or will. So this is helping the team put all of these things down in a plan and identify obstacles they need to overcome, write, a project plan if you like, the action plan, what they need to do, agree support, they will need from you moving for the future, identify exactly what they will do, in the future and have a project plan or action plan ready. So that's the grow model again to help develop effective teams and effective organizations as a strategic leader. We've talked about performance. We'll talk about some of these models a bit more next week. I've already introduced this here. So I think one other thing we need to just look at is this idea I introduced at the beginning of um, the difference between formal and informal groups, between groups and teams. So we've talked about coaching and mentoring. We've talked about how you can use the grow model to develop teams through a coaching approach, coaching them through the goals, reality, opportunities, wrap up, and so on. Some features of high performing teams. High performing teams are usually characterized by balanced roles, having your 9 delving roles there, knowing who does what, having clear objectives and goals, open communication channels which allow people to challenge and confront each other, give constructive criticism to each other to develop rather than being afraid and keeping it silent. Environment of support and trust for each other, harmonious working environment, cooperation between team members, ability to manage conflict well when it does arise among the team members without allowing derail the team and the goals. Having good procedures, knowing what to do in each situation, having a procedure for every, knowing what the procedures are you guys are supposed to do. Good, appropriate leadership with the appropriate leadership style for the team. Regular review. So as a team, from time to time, you have regular team meetings, team briefings to review where you are, where you need to go, your goals, and so on. Every individual within the team is provided development and support to um, carry out their task properly. Good team relations, we talked about that, and good communications. So that's some key things in terms of effective teams you need to look out for. And then, just to recap, we talked about the difference between groups and teams. We say groups are based on a shared identity, but they don't necessarily have a task or goal they need to achieve together, whereas a team does. Um, Formal groups are where you are grouped together by an authority. For instance, your employer puts all of you in a department together, or a school puts all of you together in a class. Informal groups are where people of like interests or like minds, form their informal group. That, oh, all of us support Manchester United Football Club, and you just form that group. Or all of us, like playing golf together on Sunday evenings, and you have that group. So Those are more informal groups. You join voluntarily rather than being grouped there together. Um, so there's some difference between formal and informal groups, and um, in organizations we find both of them happening. We find that there's a formal structure, formal departmental structure, formal group structure, but sometimes the informal structure may be more important because people within a large organization or even a small organization may tend to get things done through people they know, people they are friendly with, people they spend time with socially, people they go out to restaurants or drink with together. So, for instance, when you need to go and meet somebody in the marketing department, you're not in the marketing department in your company. You tend to go to somebody you know, maybe from football, from the informal group, and that's how work tends to get done. So you can't ignore the importance of informal groups and informal structures in organizations because a lot of work actually in reality gets done through informal groups, right? Um, so some examples of formal groups also will be committees, task forces, things like that. Yeah, you can read up on those. But we use that a lot in organizations. So yeah, we've covered all of this difference between formal and informal groups. Uh, Importance of trust in teams, you can read up on that, but generally speaking, the more group members trust each other, the more effective they will be. Um, and then importance of being able to manage conflict in a team so that the conflict doesn't kill the team or derail the team or scatter the team. Very important. So ability to manage conflict in a team, very important, and a lot of that has to do with the leader's ability. And then how do you know your team is effective? Some things that you need to look at. Do people want to stay in the team or do they want to leave? So staff turnover. When people keep wanting to leave the team, then maybe it's time the team is not that effective. Productivity. When people are productive and meeting their performance targets, that's a sign that your team is effective. Absenteeism. People um, calling sick a lot, calling not turning up for work, not being punctual. Again, that's another area to look out for to know um, whether you have effective teams in your organization and so on and so forth. So your employee engagement, your employee retention, your labor turnover, those are things um, you can look out for to see whether you have effective teams and how to measure that. Okay, so that's a quick overview of what we want to cover today. We introduced some basic concepts around performance in organizations, organizational effectiveness, performance management. We'll discuss that more next week. We introduced the difference between groups and teams, formal and informal groups. We talked a lot about teams, looked at some specific models as a strategic leader to develop teams, Stockman's 5 stages of team development, team roles, building team roles, coaching teams using role model. So any questions? Any questions, anything that's not clear? Okay. Okay. So if everything is clear, then we should meet again next week and carry on from there. All right. So have a nice day and see you next week.
Okay, see you. Thank you.
All right.